If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you may have thought you were safe from being tracked across the internet. Apple even brags about its Safari web browser, saying it looks out for you, blocking third-party tracking by default. But guess what? The Wall Street Journal revealed today that even on Safari, Google may have been tracking you. Jonathan Mayer is the Stanford grad student who cracked the code. Jonathan, how'd you do it?
So we began by running some advertisements of our own. And in those ads, we included some code that measured which advertising networks had placed cookies in users' browsers. And we targeted those ads to iOS users, users of iPhones, iPads, iPod Touches. And we noticed some unusual results. For most advertising networks, relatively few users had cookies. But for Google and several other advertising networks, a lot of users had cookies. And that clued us in that something was wrong.
Google was asked about this by the Wall Street Journal, and a spokeswoman said, quote, the journal mischaracterizes what happened and why. It says if you go to Safari, there are plenty of exceptions, and it just took advantage of what I'll call an existing loophole. True?
Google suggests that this was okay because it was technically possible. I think that's a pretty weak argument. There are all sorts of things that are technically possible that we criticize people for doing. In fact, there are some things that are technically possible we throw people in jail for doing. I think Google should be held to a higher standard. Google prides itself on being the company that wants to organize the world's information. It's, of course, quite proud of its corporate motto, that don't be evil. And so I think we should expect more from them. Google has suggested that what happened here was a mistake. That certainly is a plausible story. It aligns with the research data we collected. But of course, mistakes are not enough to immunize a company from responsibility. Regrettably, it appears for the moment the most effective tools, and they're far from comprehensive, require blocking advertisements. And that's certainly not a good outcome, because then you're forcing consumers to choose between subsidizing the free websites they love and their personal privacy.